The Witch's Child. The invasion began with silence. Across the frontier colonies, cities blinked out one by one. No warning, no distress signal, just nothing. The Thalzoon Empire had arrived. Vast and ancient, the Thalzoon had conquered a dozen sentient species. Their strength was cold precision, emotionless strategy, and technology refined over millennia. To them, humans were merely the next resource. But they had not accounted for one man, General Alexander Dragunov. Whispers about him spread through the Thalzoon ranks like a plague. They called him the Scourge of Varnus, the Bone General, and, among their priest-thinkers, the Witch's Son. The truth was worse than they imagined. 3 decades earlier, Earth, Siberian forests. The snow whispered secrets in the forest, deep secrets, ancient and wild. Branches gnarled like claws clawed at the pale sky. Somewhere within this forgotten corner of Earth, beyond satellite reach and human settlements, something stirred in a house that walked on chicken legs. The woman who lived there was no woman at all. She was Baba Yaga, and she had found a child. He had been left to die in the frost. No name, no blanket, nothing but a tag on his ankle. L13, Gov. Another discarded experiment from some secret lab. A clone, perhaps, or a psychic hybrid gone wrong. But to Baba Yaga, he was perfect. She picked him up and listened to his heartbeat. "You will do nicely," she croaked, her breath curling like mist. "You will grow strong. You will learn the old ways." Childhood of darkness and fire. Alexander's childhood was not kind. He learned to fight by wrestling enchanted bears. He learned fear by being locked in a hut full of shadows and told, "Survive till morning." He bathed in ice water from cursed rivers and read spell scripts written in dried blood. He did not play with toys. He played with knives, bones, and riddles. He asked once, "Are you my mother?" Baba Yaga laughed until her bones rattled. "I am your maker. That is more than a mother." As he grew, he became tall, pale, with eyes that saw more than light. He could smell lies, sense death, and command the loyalty of ravens. His strength was not just physical. It was spiritual, mythical. Baba Yaga carved old runes into his spine, each one a lesson, a memory, a curse, or a blessing. Humanity calls him back. One day, Earth's machines came, hover drones, sensor bots, a rescue unit tracking strange energy spikes. They found Alexander standing on a hill made of skulls, arms crossed, eyes glowing faintly in the dusk. "Who are you?" asked the commander. Alexander smiled faintly. "I am the answer to the question you dare not ask." The military took him in, tested him, prodded, questioned. They found he was stronger, smarter, faster than anything they'd seen. But more than that, he was uncanny. Lights flickered when he passed. AI went silent. Veterans refused to look him in the eyes. By 20, he was commanding special forces. By 30, he was the youngest high general in Earth's history. A different kind of general. Unlike other officers, General Dragunov did not rely on computers alone. He whispered to fires, slept only beneath trees or iron beams. He wore a ring made from a wolf's tooth and a necklace of carved human bone. His soldiers feared and revered him. "Sir," a lieutenant once asked, "why don't you follow standard protocol?" Alexander's response chilled the room. "Protocol assumes the enemy is sane. The Thalzoon are not. Neither am I." Thalzoon Council of War. Across the stars, on the fortress world of Drazik Prime, the Thalzoon leaders convened. They spoke through harmonized telepathy, cold logic running through every syllable. "Human resistance is statistically irrelevant," said one. "Except for the eastern sector," said another. "They have a leader, Dragunov. His tactics are unpredictable, illogical, highly effective. He destroyed an entire advanced fleet by sacrificing his own supply line and releasing radiation ghosts. That is not war. That is sorcery." They showed surveillance, videos of a human general walking alone onto a battlefield, whispering to himself. The Thalzoon soldiers began screaming minutes later, clawing their faces, seeing things that weren't there. He must be eliminated, but it was too late. The child of the witch arrives. As the Thalzoon prepared their next invasion wave, Dragunov requested a solitary drop onto the barren moon of Cygnus 4, where the Thalzoon had built a forward command base. He entered alone. No army, no weapons, only his long black coat, his staff made of ash wood, and the whisper of winter wind behind him. 3 hours later, the moon went dark. A scout drone recovered footage. Dragunov walking out covered in blood and ashes. Behind him, the Thalzoon base burned with green fire, and corpses lay in spiral patterns. He looked into the camera and said only, "Tell your masters, I am her son." The alien interrogation. A week later, Earth forces captured a Thalzoon commander alive. During interrogation, he seemed calm, until someone mentioned Dragunov. He began screaming, clawing at his face, yelling in perfect Russian. He walks with death. The crone's scent is on him. The eater of children. The forest devourer. You fools. You let her child live. The commander died of a brain aneurysm minutes later. Blood poured from his ears in the shape of old Cyrillic letters. Final lines. In his quarters, Dragunov knelt before a small shrine. Bones, dried herbs, a feather, a human eye in a jar. A whisper, faint but audible, slid through the shadows. "Are you ready, my child?" Dragunov smiled. "I am." He stood, donned his coat, and walked out to lead humanity's last war. The stars would soon learn the truth. You do not conquer the witch's child. The bone-wrought war. The Thalzoon came in numbers beyond comprehension. Swarms of living ships cloaked the stars, each one pulsing with alien intelligence. At their center, the Dread Mother, a world ship so massive its gravity fractured nearby moons. The Thalzoon called this their final wave, the cleansing strike to erase humanity and claim Earth as just another acquisition. They did not know that General Alexander Dragunov had been waiting for this moment his entire life. The war begins in shadows. Before the first missile was fired, Thalzoon communication relays began failing. Their drones lost cohesion. Psychic navigation nodes became haunted. Voices, human but wrong, echoed through their minds. Lullabies in Slavic tongues, whispers of teeth, screams buried beneath laughter. Entire scout fleets turn on each other, driven mad by false signals. When the Thalzoon finally reached the orbit of Earth, Dragunov was already aboard the Kashii, a black iron flagship covered in runes etched by monks in underground tombs. He stood at the helm in silence. His crew, hand-picked survivors of Earth's worst conflicts, waited for his order. He gave none. He only spoke to the AI, "Begin the rite." The rite of bone. The AI responded with an ancient phrase. Yav, Nav, and Prav are aligned. Commencing bone protocol. 12 ships from Earth's last fleet began to shift. Panels folding back, symbols glowing. These were no ordinary vessels. They were death engines powered by soul reactors and bound spirits, created in black programs Earth had denied ever existed. Each one was built using the knowledge Dragunov had extracted from Baba Yaga's tomes. These were not ships. They were sacrifices. The Kashii and its sisters didn't fire missiles. They screamed. A wave of psychic energy swept over the first Thalzoon armada, causing entire crews to claw out their own eyes as ghost forms erupted from their consoles. Thalzoon logic could not comprehend this kind of war. They had faced lasers, missiles, nukes, not nightmares sculpted into weaponry. The Grave World Trap. Dragunov lured the second wave toward Grave World Velis, a dead planet once used for failed terraforming. Unbeknownst to the Thalzoon, he had turned it into a necromantic crucible. Centuries of human war dead. Ashes, memories, pain had been buried in the soil and merged into the AI cortex of the planet itself. When the Thalzoon landed, the very ground rebelled. They were swallowed by rivers of black mud. Skeletons rose, not as zombies, but as sentient hive warriors bound to Dragunov's mind. Thunder cracked across an oxygenless sky as the general walked through the battlefield alone, chanting. The few Thalzoon who escaped Velis brought back one message. He commands the dead. He is death. Legacy of the witch. Flashback. In the forest as a child, Alexander had once asked Baba Yaga, "Why are you teaching me horror?" She'd replied, "Because one day, your enemies will know only reason and power, but you'll bring them terror. And that, my son, is how you win." Back in the present, Dragunov smiled as he remembered. The final confrontation. Now only one force remained. The Dread Mother, Falzun's godship, with the Empress Mind on board. Dragunov boarded it alone. No backup, no fleet. The Dread Mother's corridors bent physics. Its halls breathed. Its walls shifted with memory flesh. And yet, Alexander walked as if he belonged. He reached the central chamber where the Empress Mind, a being of pulsing crystal and thought fluid, awaited him. "You are not what your species should be," it said. "No," Dragunov replied. "I am what your species feared they'd awaken." He removed his coat. Beneath it, his skin glowed faintly. Dozens of bone runes activated. His blood steamed. His staff pulsed. And then he shattered his own ribcage. Kashiai the Deathless awakens. Within Dragunov's body was sealed a fragment of Kashiai the Deathless, the ancient Slavic nightmare. A soul that could never die, only move from vessel to vessel. Baba Yaga had sealed it in him long ago as her final gift. "If you ever meet something you cannot kill," she had said, "let him out." The room exploded in light and dark. Kashiai's voice poured through Dragunov, deeper than thunder, older than stars. "You who have never known fear, meet it now." The Empress Mind screamed in a frequency that cracked its own ship. The Dread Mother fractured from within. Falzun networks collapsed. Entire fleets went dark. End of the empire. In less than a day, the Falzun Empire fell. Some say they still wander the stars, blind, lost, whispering about the crone and her child. Earth was safe. No other empire would dare try again. Epilogue. The forest calls again. Alexander Dragunov returned to Earth not as a hero, but as a relic. He declined medals, spoke to no one. 1 year later, he vanished. Some say he walked into the Siberian forests once more. A drone once caught a glimpse, an old hut standing on chicken legs and a tall figure beside it, holding a staff. Inside, a voice rasped, "You did well, my child." And the stars remained quiet ever after.